Hello and welcome to Baby Animal Reading Time. I'm Hannah Shaw, also known as Kitten Lady, and I'm going to be reading from my brand new chapter book series, Adventures in Fosterland. Okay, bye Shoo-Shoo. Adventures in Fosterland is my new series inspired by true stories of my foster animals, and the first 2 books are out now. The first book in the series is a beautiful story about the importance of following your dreams. It starts with a little newborn piglet named Emmett, who finds himself lost and alone on the side of the road. When a little bee comes down and tells him that the side of the road is no place for a baby pig, he decides he'd rather be anywhere else and anyone else. He doesn't like being a baby piglet at all. But then a giant scoops him up and takes him to a wonderful place called Fosterland, where he starts to explore the house, and he meets a kitten named JEZ. Once he hears about life as a foster kitten, he decides that sounds much better than being a piglet, so he'll just be a kitten instead. Problem solved, right? Of course, as Emmett gets older, he has to face the reality that he might not be a kitten after all. And as he prepares for adoption, he has to ask himself the scariest question of all. Is there a Foreverland for piglets? So I'm gonna read from chapter 3, which is called A Magical Place. Hi Shoo-Shoo, do you wanna sit with me while I read? Okay. In this chapter, Emmett has just gotten to Fosterland, and he is exploring his new surroundings. He's just discovered a bed that looks just like a cloud, and he decides he wants to lay down. But what he doesn't realize is he's not the only one who wants to lay there. Let's read. Sniff, sniff, sniff. At the edge of the cloud appeared a little brown nose, wiggling with long white whiskers. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Emmett braced himself as the fluffy cloud dweller leaned forward, sniffing in his direction until they were snout to snoot. Up from the cloud rose a fuzzy individual with brown fur and big blue eyes. So, you're the new kid, huh? He said. Yeah, I was the new kid last week, which was practically ages ago, so I guess this makes me the big guy. Okay, kid, hop in. He scooted to the side to make room for Emmett. Stunned, Emmett sat perfectly still, staring up at the being who tapped his back paw and said, "Well, are you gonna come hang out or not?" Emmett shyly stepped into the bed, relieved to finally find someone who wanted to talk to him. "I'm Emmett. I've had such a confusing day." His voice grew stronger as he spoke. "I was on the side of the road and it was so scary there, and now all of a sudden I'm here, but I'm afraid I don't know where here is." The fluffy being raised an eyebrow. "You mean to tell me that you don't know where you are right now?" He sat up tall, showing off his long, shiny, tiger-striped coat, and cleared his throat before breaking into a speech. He began. Hear ye, I am JEZ, and this kingdom you have entered is Fosterland," he said, gesturing grandly with his arms outstretched. "Fosterland," JEZ continued, "is a magical place where the lost are found, the sick are healed, and the hungry are fed and loved. My friend, you have just entered a magical place where you can lie back and relax, enjoy the buffet, and focus on your own personal growth. Fosterland is a special place for foster kittens like you and me. Retreat? Food? Love?" Emmett liked what he was hearing. His ears perked up. "I'm a foster kitten?" "Yes, genius," JEZ laughed and rolled his eyes. "Gosh, you are new, huh? Of course you're a foster kitten. We both are. Consider yourself lucky because us foster kittens have it good in Fosterland." Emmett leaned in, listening. He could feel the corners of his mouth curling into a tiny smile. Maybe this was his lucky day and he wasn't a little pig after all. This JEZ character seemed like he probably knew what he was talking about. He was bigger, older, and carried himself like a proud lion. Emmett sat like a perfect student, taking little notes in his mind. Note to self, I am a foster kitten, and I have it good now. Stretching his neck to appear as tall as possible, JEZ continued. "There was a time when I was in your shoes, little one, so wide-eyed and new to the world, and a sleek black cat, much older and wiser, spoke to me in rhyme. Dream big, and soon you'll see all that a foster grows to be." He held his paw to his heart, closing his eyes as if in deep reflection, but really he was just trying to remember the rest of the words. "The dream inside your heart, something about dreams and hearts." The truth was, he was so excited to have a new friend that he could not remember the rest of the rhyme. He paused, took a deep breath, then lowered his head until he was eye to eye with Emmett, whispering in quiet amazement. Legend has it that all the dreams you have as a baby in Fosterland come true when you're big and grown. Emmett teared up a little as JEZ continued his monologue, marching back and forth like a fluffy soldier with a swishy tail. Little kitten, you are tiny, but someday you will be mighty, and that is why you are here in Fosterland. That is why we are both here, to grow into mighty cats. As you can see, I'm well on my way. Watching as JEZ strutted in a circle, Emmett was speechless. JEZ was shining with sophistication. Then Emmett looked down at his little pink feet, which were scuffed with dirt from the side of the road. He thought about how scary it had felt to be lost and how good it felt to be in Fosterland. And he decided that it was a very good thing to be a foster kitten indeed. Even if he was a little smaller than JEZ, Emmett was bubbling with the happy feeling that maybe they really were quite the same, each with 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 loving, tender heart. The only difference as far as he could tell was that JEZ only had 3 legs, while Emmett had 4. "What happened to your leg?" Emmett asked. "I used to have 4 legs," JEZ replied, "but one of them got hurt when I was a baby. That's how I ended up here in Fosterland. I needed a place to heal. But don't worry, I get around just fine on 3 legs. See?" And with that, he leapt over Emmett's head, landing on a short bench overlooking the cloud. Now Emmett really did feel small. JEZ looked down at Emmett, who was sinking into the squishiness of the pink cloud. He said, "You look a little different too. What happened to your tail?" "My tail?" Emmett thought to himself, rolling around the bed trying to get a view of his behind. Emmett's tail was short, skinny, pink, and nearly hairless. When he was excited, it wagged back and forth uncontrollably like a flag in the wind. It was nothing like JEZ's tail, which was long, fluffy, and swishing through the air with grace. Emmett had no memory of his tail ever looking like JEZ's, but wanting to fit in, he replied, "Oh, my tail? Yeah, same thing. Something happened, yeah." "I get it," JEZ said, hopping back down and placing a loving paw on Emmett's back. "It's okay to look a little different. That's what makes you special." Emmett exhaled a sigh of relief after what had been a long, confusing day. Settling in by JEZ's side, he kicked his little hooves to the side and felt his worries melting away. He'd never sat next to a kitten before, but it sure was comfy. JEZ was as soft as a fleece pillow and seemed to be vibrating gently like the motor of a truck. He remembered his previous snuggle buddies and hoped that wherever they'd ended up, they'd found a Fosterland for themselves too. "What's that fluttering sound in your chest?" Emmett asked. "I'm purring. That's what us kittens do when we're happy," JEZ replied, curling into a cozy crescent. "I'm glad you're here, Emmett. I've been waiting for a foster friend like you." Emmett cuddled in close, listening to the purrs. So this is what happiness sounds like, he thought, wondering if he might someday learn how to purr too. He closed his eyes and the rumbling sounds soothed him right to sleep. I hope that you feel excited to read more. The books are written for reading levels ages 6 through 9, but they can truly be enjoyed by people of any age. Even adults will find these stories so heartwarming, and you might even find yourself laughing and maybe even crying in a good way. They're illustrated by Beverly Johnson, and her artwork is just beautiful. So this was such a fun book to write, and I have loved imagining these 2 former fosters I have as real characters in a fictionalized retelling of their story. I'll never forget them laying in that cloud bed and cuddling each other night after night. But just like the characters in the book, they grew up. And they started wanting different things, and they had to learn an important lesson that each of us has our own dreams for the future. In book 2, I tell the story of Super Spinach, and I will share a chapter from that in a future video. Right now, you can find both of the books at a bookstore near you, or you can find them at kittenlady.org/books. Happy reading!